Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. What's going on, everybody? Thursday, October 16th, 8 a.m. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Talk a little Lakers basketball and NBA hoops this morning. Looking forward to that. Thank you for being a part of the channel, subscribing to the channel. I always appreciate everyone every single morning that comes to hang out on the channel and on the show. So thank you very much for doing so. One preseason game left. Praise the Lord that we have one preseason game left. What am I watching every single day? Jesus. All right, that's part of preseason basketball. I think that's just something that we could expect. Cheers to everybody. Let's take a second. Things kind of marinate here for a quick second. Got a nice cup of coffee this morning, just black coffee now. That's it. I don't put anything else in it anymore. No creamer, no sugar, nothing. Just like somebody from the 1920s that's got to go out and get some work done. Very, very similar. I'm very similar to the 1920s. All right, I appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Okay, I got a full kind of rundown of what we're going to do for today's show. So I'm going to hit on that in just a second. Just a quick reminder to everybody, if you've yet to subscribe to the channel, if you can please do so, would greatly appreciate that, would appreciate that support. If you got comments that are rolling in, I'll take a look at some of these comments before we get started. So let me give everyone just a quick rundown, and we'll get the show started. Preseason basketball. My God. That is some ugly, ugly basketball. Not to make too big of a deal about it, but it hasn't really been that enjoyable, if I'm going to be honest with everybody. Yesterday, Lakers, if I'm correct here, they were outscored by 40 in the second half. I'm going to spend a little bit of time just on preseason basketball overall and how it's been disappointing for me. And I know there's going to be some people in the comments saying, oh, what the hell are you talking about? It's preseason. Relax. You're not wrong. But I just don't feel like the Lakers, from a chemistry perspective, seeing certain lineups, guys in and out of the lineup, I don't know. I just I don't feel all that great about what they're going to be walking into to start the regular season. So I'll spend a little bit of time on that. Will the Lakers be ready? They got one preseason game left. So they got a game coming up tomorrow against the Sacramento Kings. And JJ Redick basically said, like, all right, we're playing everybody. My only question is why'd you wait so long? I mean, what's the purpose of waiting so long? You're already going to be starting the season without LeBron. Don't you need all these guys to have a little bit more chemistry? We'll get into that. I wrote some notes here, and I want to ask everyone as we kind of go through the show, what are you most excited about this upcoming season? Yesterday when I was doing the post-game show, for those that tune in after the wonderful, wonderful Lakers-Mavs game, one of the most exciting games I've ever watched in my life, when that game was done, for those who tuned in the post-game show, by the way, I know if you're watching start to finish preseason basketball like I am, now granted for me, this is part of my occupation, you're as real as they come when it comes to the NBA and it comes to the Lakers. Because if you're sitting there in a post-game show tuning in saying, Al, feed me some more information, I want to know what Gabe Vincent had to say after the game. Hats off to you. But I'll throw this question out as we get the show started. Most excited about this upcoming season? What are you most optimistic about? Because the vibe that I'm getting, and I'll read some of your comments, and last night I proposed this in the post-game show as well. What is the vibe around Lakers basketball? And I really didn't get too many positive things, so we'll hit on that as well. Jared Vanderbilt and his health, that's going to be such a key player. Got that quad contusion, I think is the proper framing of it. We didn't really get any more information than that, but one of the players that I've been most excited to watch in the preseason has been Gabe Vincent. They can't afford for him to miss any time. And I'm not here to tell you that he's going to miss time, but he did only end up playing 13 minutes yesterday, and JJ really didn't elaborate that much on how he's feeling. You cannot miss Jared Vanderbilt to start the season. Can you trust Gabe Vincent? He had another really nice performance last night, 22 points, started the game 5 for 5 from the three-point line. He was excellent. He was great. Can you trust him? Is that a player that you can trust? And frankly, he's been one of the highlights so far in preseason basketball, so just something to keep in mind there. LeBron to return mid-November, it looks like that's the date. So we'll spend a little bit of time on that. I still kind of have some concern here. There's two ways to look at the LeBron situation. I'll break it down once we get to that, that part of the show. But Shams had put something out yesterday that mid-November, he's going to take his time. They're going to be cautious. Expect something around mid-November. If he comes back October or November 16th, I think that's 14 games that he'd miss. Hot take culture. There's a new segment on ESPN. Tim Legler's doing it with some of the different head coaches, and LeBron chimed in on it that he'd much rather watch that than the hot take culture. I got to be honest with everybody. I'm not sure what consumers want. I don't know if consumers want that hot take 15, 20-second soundbite, or they want something that's more like Tim Legler's doing with J.J. Redick, or he's done with Doc Rivers. We'll get into that as well. Got a couple things around the NBA. Malcolm Brogdon retiring. When I was doing the show yesterday, Russell Westbrook ends up signing with the Sacramento Kings. So a few things out there. And then quick little hit on MLB playoffs. Then we'll get the hell out of here on a Thursday. Thank you for being a part of the show. Let's take a quick look at the comments, and we'll get things started from here. Ocean Breeze doing what he does. Confidence doesn't come from feeling ready. It comes from knowing you've done the work. Great quote right there. Great quote. Confidence doesn't come from feeling ready. It comes from knowing you've done the work. Phenomenal. Preseason is a precursor. Yeah, there are two different type of people that I think look at the preseason. Two different types of people. Some people look at preseason and say, if you take anything from this, you're an idiot. And then other people look at preseason and say, if you're not paying attention to any of this, you're an idiot. Either way, someone's an idiot. But I feel like that's usually the case with preseason, where some people take it way too seriously and other people are like, why are you even watching any of these games? So anyways, whether it's a precursor, we'll have to wait and see. My issue, and I'll get into it once we start, is they just already don't have enough cohesiveness. So I would have liked to see these guys play a lot more games together just to see what it looks like. Let's get Jesus in here. Yeah, I was optimistic about the season before preseason. Now I'm not so sure. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Slee, more and more fans are coming around, though, this Luka and AR duo. I think the vibe is they want him to stay. Let's see what happens through the season. Smokey, I'm going to hold on to this, and we're going to get into this later. It's a good topic. If you're seeing more and more people coming around, tell me where they're at, because I have not seen that. I've not seen that at all, or I haven't seen it, let's just put it this way, on a consistent basis or anything like that. All right, let's get the show started. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show, and let's get this bad boy started. So last night, Lakers played, obviously, another preseason game. Here's what I mean by not a good preseason. There's a ton of factors that come into play when I say not a good preseason. I'm not talking about, are the Lakers running their offense perfectly? Not talking about that. I'm not talking about, are the rotations 100% set and this team's, ready to go come October 21st, which, to be honest with you, that's the whole point of preseason, is to be ready for the regular season. What I'm referring to more than anything else when I say not a good preseason is, I don't think I could sit here today and really have any answers for you about this upcoming season. Can I sit here and tell you today that the Lakers are going to be a really, really good team this upcoming year? I got no idea, because there's been nothing in preseason that would give me any insight. Could I tell you what the Lakers starting lineup is coming up on Tuesday? I have no idea, which goes to I think part of the reason why you use preseason is to, what does that cohesiveness look like? Now, listen, J.J. Redick can very easily be saying, guys, I'm doing everything you want to see. I'm just not doing it in the preseason games. I'm doing it during practice. I already know what my rotation is. I already got the 5 guys that I'm going to be starting on October 21st. Yes, there's the curveball with LeBron because of his injury. Could all that be happening off the court? Sure, it can be happening. But at least what I'm watching so far in 5 preseason games, I don't have much for you. That's what I would say is this has not been a good preseason. I don't feel like many of the questions that I had walking into training camp have been answered. I don't feel like there's been some clarity. And frankly, some of this has to do with some of the players. Has Dalton Connect performed in a way where you're like, hey, Connect's going to be great this season? No, he really hasn't. Have we seen, a ton of minutes with Luka and Austin Reeves and DeAndre Ayton together with Rui Hachimura to say, oh, okay, so this is what they're going to do. This is how they're going to stagger some of these minutes. Hey, Vando's going to play with this lineup. We haven't. That's what I mean by not a good preseason. I don't care about the results. I don't care about, what happens specifically with a box score or a stat sheet or anything like that. I just want to see, are certain players comfortable? Is there some chemistry? Is the timing right? And I don't think we've been able to see any of that in preseason. So when I define it has not been a good preseason, I'm not talking about the record. I'm not talking about individual stats. I'm not talking about a box score. I'm not talking about turnovers per game. I'm just talking about in general. Are you walking away with a vibe that gives you, hey, these guys are going to be ready when the regular season starts? I haven't walked away with that vibe. This could all be strategy. This could all be, we don't care about the preseason. Luka's going to be ready. Reeves will be ready, and we'll roll the ball out there. Maybe that's a different story. The other part of it, when I say it's not a good preseason, you also haven't had LeBron. This is LeBron's 23rd season in the NBA. And he's not only going to miss the opener for the first time in his career, he's also going to miss not just the opening week, but could be almost a month of play. So he gets evaluated. This was about a week ago now that the news came out. He gets reevaluated. It was like a 3 to 4 week time frame. So as I look at preseason as a whole, really only got to see Marcus Smart in one game. Ayton, I think, actually has been a little bit of a bright spot. We'll see what happens once the season starts. I just haven't been able to walk away with much in preseason. So will the Lakers be ready by the time the regular season starts? So they got one more preseason game left, and it looks like everyone's going to play tomorrow. I don't think they're going to be ready for the regular season. I don't. I mean, if I'm just being very blunt here, I don't think when that game starts against the Golden State Warriors on October 21st, I don't think the team is going to be ready. And when I say I don't think the team is going to be ready, it's just because I don't feel like they've had enough time together, cohesiveness. LeBron's going to be out. So I'm a little more pessimistic right now to the start of the regular season. Now, I watched Lakers basketball after they made that trade for Luka last year, and I also didn't think they were going to win 50 games. I also didn't think they were going to move up in the standings in the Western Conference. I didn't have many expectations for them once they made the trade for Luka because the idea wasn't about winning last season. It was about building for the future. And JJ Redick proved me wrong. Luka proved me. The entire team was phenomenal. And they were winning games without a complete roster. And guys were in and out of the lineup. And there were some games Luka wasn't playing and the Lakers still won. But will the Lakers be ready for the regular season? I have a difficult time thinking October 21st is going to roll around and these guys are ready to go. It's going to take them a second. So, and I'm not even, trying to put some blame or any of that stuff. I just think it's the reality. The only blame that I would put is I don't understand kind of their strategy in the preseason to play such limited minutes for guys and some key guys, especially when I'm not concerned about Luka, but how about Luka, his timing for guys like DeAndre Ayton and some of these other players. So I think we could look at it from a number of different perspectives. But as we get ready for the regular season, I don't think this is the way I thought the preseason was going to roll out. And I don't care about the results of the preseason. But what I do care about is your squad ready for October 21st? And I don't have that vibe that the Lakers are going to roll out the ball come October 21st on Tuesday against the Golden State Warriors, and they're ready to go. Now, it might take them 5 games, 7 games, 10 games, whatever the case is, but that's kind of been my observation in the preseason. I'll take a look at some of the comments, see if you guys agree with me, disagree. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I'm overreacting, but I've never been wrong in my life. So how would it be possible that today on Thursday, October 16th at 8:15 a.m. would be the first time that I'm wrong? I mean, it's just not possible. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's take a look at some of the comments. I know some people want to talk about Gabe Vincent. They want to talk about some other guys, so we'll do that as well. All right, let's see what we got here. Yeah, glad we got Luka. Glad LeBron out. I can wait a year. Freaking Luka will be awesome. This is people already assuming Giannis is a Los Angeles Laker. I will tell you this. In the ultimate of ultimate plans in that front office, by the way, this would be the plan for 99.9% of the front offices out there. The only difference is Lakers have been able to do this in the past. If they could pair Luka with anybody, it's Giannis. I mean, of course, it's Jokic first, but I think we all agree of all the superstars out there, if there's one to move, it would be Giannis. I don't think it's going to be Jokic. Let's look at some more here. A lot of people throwing in, though, we're getting Greek Freak next year. All right, let's see here. Christian. Who cares if they haven't played a ton of preseason games together? Christian, I think it matters. Let me give you an example. Again, this is just, you're right. Maybe it doesn't matter. But the Dallas Mavericks have been basically playing most of their guys together, and there's a reason for it. They want Cooper Flagg as best as he can to be ready for the regular season. AD and PJ Washington and go down the list. D'Angelo Russell. They want to get proper rotations and see what these guys look like. My issue with the Lakers is I just don't know how, and again, we could be, let's see it Tuesday, October 21st. I'll be more than happy to say, guys, I didn't think they were going to have this much cohesiveness this early, and maybe they do. But I got some doubt that that's just a switch that's just going to turn on. Don't you want to use some of these preseason games for that? And it just hasn't looked good either. I mean, there have been stretches where it just hasn't looked good. But you could 100% be right, and I'm not going to sit here and make an argument. I think we'll just find out October 21st. Now, here's the good news. The good news is tomorrow, JJ has already said he's going to play everybody. And I do think there's going to be some benefit, and I do think there's been a little bit of ramp up of saying to yourself, well, let's just get to Friday, October 17th. That's going to be our final preseason game together. We'll play everybody. We'll give them good minutes. We'll have some tape that we can use for Saturday and Sunday and Monday, and then Tuesday the regular season is going to start. By the way, they only play one game. They play Tuesday of next week. They don't play again until Friday, so they'll have a few more days to prepare. It's not like the world is going to end. It's just it'd be nice if I think for all of us, we had a little bit more. I don't know what the starting lineup's going to be. I don't know who are the first guys off the bench. I don't know what the rotation is. I think that's where you can use preseason. The Lakers haven't exactly used it for that. Let's see what we got here. Absolutely not walking away with any confidence. With you on that. Let's and I'll get into that one specifically in just a second. LeBron's dream to join a championship team will come true in December when he comes back from injury. Okay, let's do a couple things here real quick. Let me throw a question out to everybody. What are you most optimistic about this upcoming season? Tell me what you're most optimistic about this upcoming season. So kind of weigh all the different things that are out there. What gets you excited about this upcoming season? For me, to be honest with you, I think it's kind of simple. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people with a similar answer. I want to watch Luka in an 82-game regular season for the Lakers. Because I do think he's got the potential of having the best season of his career at age 26. And we know the type of seasons that he's already had in his career. So I'll throw this question out. As I sit here and kind of knock the preseason and probably a little bit more pessimistic than I usually am, let me give something that's a little bit more refreshing. What are you most looking forward to this upcoming season? Because I think this can also kind of reframe everybody's mind of, will kind of take us back to before preseason started, before training camp started. I'm sure there were a lot of storylines we were looking forward to. Ayton being a Laker. Can Marcus Smart be the player that he was? LeBron in his 23rd season. JJ Redick getting another crack at it with more experience. I'm sure there's a lot of things that we can all hit on. Maybe some people are like, I'm looking forward to the trade deadline. Maybe some people are saying, I think Austin Reeves is going to have the best year that he's had, and he's going to shut up all these people about whether he should re-sign or he shouldn't. So what are you most optimistic for this upcoming season? So if you guys don't mind writing those comments, I'm going to take a look at those in just a second. Before I do so, let me just point out a couple things from yesterday. The Vando piece of it, they can't afford to have Vando miss any time. So the Jared Vanderbilt injury news coming from yesterday. This is basically the news. I'm trying to find the exact quote here. But they really, really cannot afford this guy to be gone for any amount of time. Lakers head coach JJ Redick said Vanderbilt took a knee to the quad in his press conference after the game. Redick said nothing else besides that. So it remains unclear how severe the injury could be. They cannot afford to have Jared Vanderbilt miss any time. He's got a left quad contusion. Left the game, only played 13 minutes. You know, Vando's value is actually really, really continuing to go up for the Lakers. I think that part is very, very, very apparent. Whether you want him in the starting lineup or not, whether you sit back and you say to yourself, this guy is an offensive liability. They need Jared Vanderbilt, and they need him for a ton of games. He's such a unique player. There's really nobody on that roster that can do some of the stuff that he does. Does he have some offensive deficiencies? Sure, of course he does. Which, by the way, in a weird way, I'm watching him play yesterday, and there's some things that he's doing I'm actually impressed with. You know, there was a play yesterday. There was a block, a loose ball. Vando grabs the ball, bringing the ball up the floor almost like a guard, making a nice decision of where the ball goes. And then that led to another pass that got Rui a three in the corner. Vando's just an important key piece. Left quad contusion. They just cannot afford to have Vando miss any extended period of time. And I was looking online. I think a mild quad contusion is 1 to 2 weeks. Something more severe is 2 to 4 weeks. So we'll see. We'll see what eventually happens. I know for a lot of teams, whenever a player gets even remotely anything small happens, we saw this to Austin Reeves a couple games ago. They'll just take him out of the game. It's preseason. So maybe the Lakers are just being cautious from that perspective. All right, let's see what some of the people are saying here as far as what they're most optimistic about seeing this year. All right, most optimistic. Christian, Luka looking great and having a true center now. Okay. And that's obviously up to DeAndre Ayton to fill in that role of a true center, a consistent center, somebody that can be on the squad that you can depend on, somebody that has the ability on the defensive side. One of the things that I thought Dallas did really well until they kicked them out of Dallas was I thought they gave him the proper team. You know, athletic wings, defensive players, shooters, other ball handlers, a ton of bigs, Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively. I thought they were very strategic. They were very smart in how they built that team around Luka. So that's obviously going to be an area that Ayton hopefully is going to be able to kind of fill in that void. Optimistic about Luka. AR and Rui showing up. Ayton would be a big plus to show up. All right, I appreciate you chiming in there as well. Luka being in shape, seeing what he raises his game to. I'm with you on that. I think that's what he raises his game to. Sometimes when you have players of Luka's caliber, you can say like, okay, can they really take their game to another level? I think for Luka, the question is no question about it. It's yes. Of course he can. Why wouldn't he be able to take his game to another level? And maybe he was 10, 15 pounds overweight the last couple of years, and he's not that anymore. So what does that mean for him? A lot of people kind of doing this. Luka flirting with a triple-double season. A skinny and an angry Luka Doncic. I am optimistic about Luka's individual goals. I think if there's one thing that this isn't the overall goal, and we know that. But when you have a player as dynamic as Luka Doncic, you tune in to watch Luka. Now, what you're ultimately going to tune in for is the team winning or are they not? Because if Luka's putting up 30, 10, and 11 on a consistent basis, but the Lakers are hovering around 500, that takes away a lot of the joy. I don't know. Maybe for some people, they'll still be happy with that. But if Luka's balling out and we're in January 1st, we turn the calendar and we're in January, and he's having as good of a season as Nikola Jokic and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Lakers are hovering around third or fourth in the Western Conference, that's a completely different conversation. So I think for some people here, most of the conversation, it feels like that what people are looking forward to is that piece of it. Here's one. Next year, Lakers will give AR $35 million and Bron $45 million. If that's what you're looking for, I don't know about that. Okay, let's get a couple more of these comments in here. Good morning, Slee. I agree with you. How can you be ready when your starting rotation hasn't played together? Who are your starters? Who's in the rotation? Most teams know these things. A lot of teams too. This is I think one of the disadvantages that the Lakers have. A lot of teams, when you have some consistency in your roster and it's got kind of the same team coming back, it's the same head coach, there's a lot of benefits to that. We all know that. There's obviously a lot of benefits that Lakers don't have that benefit. Now, they got some players returning. It's not to say that they don't, but they also got a lot of new key pieces. That's why maybe I look at the preseason and say, yeah, now's the time to work on all that. And maybe at the end of the day, what you could say is without LeBron, you're never going to be the team that you're supposed to be anyways. So you really can't be what that vision is until LeBron returns in mid-November or whatever the case is. Okay, let me get a couple more of these in, and we'll keep things going. Okay, optimistic about Luka. Any team competitive like LBJ used to. Luka's not dragging league players to the playoffs. I think you could put Luka on any team in the NBA, and of course they got a shot at making the playoffs. Of course they got a shot at making the playoffs. By the way, what is making the playoffs in the NBA? What is that real accomplishment? 8 teams get in, 10 have a shot with the play-in tournament. So we're not talking about we're not talking about 4 teams getting in and it's a real accomplishment. Half the league gets into the playoffs. And 65% of the league has a legitimate chance of making the playoffs because of the play-in tournament. So I don't think it's this unbelievable accomplishment if that's done. Okay, let's see a couple more here, and then I'm going to keep things rolling. Vanderbilt, too unreliable. Yeah, this is the Vando conversation that we were having. If Vanderbilt is a key component to your success, the season is over before it starts. Gary, I completely disagree. I think there's a lot of teams in the NBA that can have success and have a guy like Jared Vanderbilt on your team. I completely disagree. Vando plays a role. There are certain players that play a role. And you're not asking Jared Vanderbilt to come out, pump 15 points out, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists. No, you're asking Vando, go guard the best backcourt player on the opposing team. Get yourself some buckets just by being around the basket and being a hustler. Get a couple of steals here and there. Grab some rebounds. Add a toughness to your team. You need guys like that. I think you need guys like that. I don't think I'm stretching that one by any case. I really don't. I think he can be a key player and an important player, and he could also be a player that maybe your other teams aren't game planning for night in and night out. Okay, let's keep going here. I got plenty of topics here already halfway through the show. Thank you for being a part of the show. Please subscribe to the channel if you guys don't mind. I would greatly appreciate it. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm for being great partners of the show. Looking forward to doing my next podcast from their office. I got to plan something here. Maybe in the next 30 days or so, I'll get back to his office. If you are a family member or ever in a serious injury, a wrongful death case, things happen in life and you can't really be too prepared for it. And unfortunately, just things are out of your control. If you're ever in a predicament or a situation, I can only imagine how intimidating and daunting the situation is if you find yourself in one of these predicaments. You have somebody that can help you. Brad Wallace of the Wallace firm. One of the things that I love about our partnership is anybody that goes to the website, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, anybody that goes to that website, you can get an absolutely free consultation. Somebody will be able to help you or point you in the right direction. So shout out to Brad Wallace. Thank you for being a proud partner. He continues to support me and support the channel. And I hope all of our listeners here, if you ever need an injury attorney, will also support him. That's kind of the ecosystem of how this works, specifically on YouTube here. So shout out to Brad Wallace, the team. And like I said, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Can the Lakers trust Gabe Vincent? Is that, I think, one of the highlights so far this season or this preseason has been Gabe. Can they trust Gabe Vincent? Do you have trust in Gabe Vincent? Because as you start looking at the rotation right now, and you take a look at Gabe, who's a veteran in this league, has been in the NBA for a while, has playoff experience, has championship experience playing with the Miami Heat. They can really, really use a breakout season from Gabe Vincent. You know what they could use, actually? I think I should adjust what I'm saying here. They could, not a breakout season from Gabe Vincent, a season that I think the Lakers expected when they signed him. And they haven't got that yet. This is his third year on a 3-year contract. And I don't think there's a Laker fan out there that's been watching Lakers basketball, like most people on this channel, that could sit here and tell me, oh man, he's exactly what I thought he was going to be. Because there was a perception when he was signed by the Lakers that he was going to be a real contributor, that he was going to add some toughness to this team, some leadership, somebody that you can rely on the defensive side, somebody that will hit shots, somebody that's not afraid of big moments and hitting big shots. And he's not been able to do that for the Lakers. He's had a good preseason. It's preseason. You know, if I'm going to sit here and tell you that preseason doesn't matter, but I think there are some things that we could take away from the preseason. He's been effective. Now, the difference with Gabe and a lot of the shots that he's getting right now, he's got the green light. He's not thinking about, I can't take the shot. Luka's right there. I can't take the shot. LeBron's right there. Should I take the shot or should I throw the ball down low to DeAndre Ayton? Should I just get the hell out of Austin Reeves' way? Where Gabe's going to be most effective for the Lakers is off the ball, not creating for himself, helping with spacing, hitting open shots when he gets the opportunity. And I think that's the thing that's hurt Gabe Vincent with the Lakers. He has not been one of those players that you can look at and say, I can rely on him. He's going to come through. Yeah, if he just sits in that corner and he gets it, the spacing is just teams got to get out on him. That has not, unfortunately, been the path or the result from Gabe Vincent. So yesterday he had kind of a cool performance, you know, for those who were watching the game. If you missed the second half, you did a good job. If you just saw the first half and you saw Gabe and Rui had a really good first half as well. You saw Gabe put up 5 threes, go 5 for 5 to start the game. And before you even, I think he had 19 in the first quarter, ended up with 22 points, didn't play as much the rest of the way, kind of started struggling with his shot the rest of the way. But Gabe Vincent has had a couple moments now in preseason where you're like, all right, hey, you know what? This is nice. Maybe it's building some of his momentum. Maybe the Lakers will be able to use him the way they thought they were going to use him 2 years ago, and it hasn't happened yet. So I'm hesitant to trust in Gabe, and it's more to do with I need to see Gabe Vincent successful when Luka's on the floor with him, or when Reeves is on the floor with him, or when LeBron's on the floor with him, when other guys are on the floor with him where he doesn't have the ball in his hands. Because we know once the regular season starts, it's not like they're going to say, Gabe, go to work. That's just not going to be the case. So can the Lakers trust Gabe Vincent? I think that's a fair question. And to be honest, I'm not sure if I have an answer for it, but I'm going to lean more towards no. I'm going to go with what I've seen from Gabe Vincent over the last 2 years, not this out of nowhere, he's just going to start becoming a real contributor. I think Gabe is going to be a great backup guard for 12 to 15 minutes a night this season. Gabe is in a contract year. He'll perform, but get rid of him and sell high ASAP. We know what he does or doesn't when he's in a contract year. Well, I think no matter what, contract year or not for Gabe, I think it's safe to say this will be his final year with the Lakers. I think maybe what you mean by get rid of him, sell high, is if there's an opportunity during the season, he creates some value for himself, and then the Lakers are going out there before the trade deadline, and they're trying to make some moves. But, I got to be honest. I mean, think about the names that have been thrown around in any trade package. You hear Rui's name, you hear Dalton Connect's name, and you hear Gabe Vincent's name. Those are probably the three most likely names that I hear in any of these trade scenarios that are thrown out there. Yes, Austin Reeves you hear a little bit of, but I just don't know how realistic that is. You hear Maxi Kleber, but that's more to kind of match salaries. So Rui's name, has been thrown out, so I don't think that's going anywhere anytime soon. Okay, let's get a couple more in these here. Gabe will play better this year, better personnel for him. And, I think there's truth to, I definitely think there's truth to him being in an expiring contract, of course. Vincent is an expiring contract. That's his value. You're not wrong. And then, there's a lot of teams that want to shed salary. That's why they make certain trades. Maybe there's a team out there that says Lakers aren't using Gabe Vincent right. Throw him in a package for us and we'll use him the right way. That could be the case as well. Okay, we got an update yesterday on LeBron. So let me just kind of hit that real quick. I do want to spend a quick second on that. Initially, the thought was, will he miss maybe 5 to 7 games, maybe miss opening night and a week, maybe a week and a half. So here's the latest, and here's what Shams put out there yesterday. I'm just going to kind of read some of this quote. If you were listening to the postgame show yesterday, I did play it. He was on with Malika Andrews on NBA. I think it was on NBA Today. If it wasn't NBA Today, I know it was on ESPN, obviously. Here's what he told you, or here's what Shams said about LeBron and the sciatica that he's dealing with on his right side. I'm told that the Lakers and LeBron are looking at around mid-November as a realistic debut for him. October 30th would be the earliest that the Lakers would be officially reevaluating LeBron James, but it is expected he will need at least a few weeks after that point. So, by the way, if he's saying, okay, October 30th, he'll need at least a few weeks. We're in mid-November. So I think the likelihood of him missing 14, 15 games is very likely. A source told me tonight that LeBron will be taking a patient approach with his rehab from the nerve injury. So the ramp-up process for this will be a lot of basketball shape conditioning work because remember, as I reported last week in NBA Today, LeBron James first suffered the nerve issue during an on-court workout in late July, early August. He wasn't able to have that normal LeBron James offseason that we're accustomed to. And as a superhuman, he's been throughout his NBA career. He's turning 41 in December. So then he just goes on to say likely around that mid-November range. So, there's, I think for me, when I think of LeBron, just let's put everything to the side here and let's just isolate LeBron James. I almost don't care that LeBron's going into his 23rd season in the NBA. He's still putting up numbers. And whether you're excited about LeBron James' 23rd year or you're just waiting for LeBron James to wrap up his career with the Lakers, because I know I see it on both sides. The Lakers need LeBron this year. You got 50 and change that's going his way. He's still able to be a productive player. He's on the team. He's on the roster. I mean, Lakers need LeBron this year, and they need him available. Whether he comes back in mid-November, I wrote something down here. I think there's two different ways to kind of look at this LeBron situation. And let me kind of break down both sides of it. If you guys want to weigh in, feel free to. One way to look at it is, who cares? Just come back whenever. If you're ready in the first week of November, awesome. If you're not ready till December 1st, come back December 1st. I think a lot of people look at LeBron and say, who cares when LeBron comes back? The first half of the season doesn't mean anything. What means everything is second half of the season, getting closer to March, obviously April, and then that playoff run. That's when you want LeBron ready, rested, and at his best. The only hesitation I would say that is concerning to me, and I would look at it the other way, could this also just be the sign of his 23rd season? Yeah, his body is clearly going to break down. I mean, it's 23rd year in the NBA. No other player has been in the league for 23 years. He has just kind of, you've grown this expectation of like, yeah, LeBron's going to be there. Of course, why isn't he going to be there? But this is the first time going into training camp or going into the regular season, he's going to miss a regular season opener. But he's not just going to miss a regular season opener. He'll miss probably 10 to 15 games, if not more, just based on Shams' timeline here that he put out there. I think the Lakers, if he comes back November 16th, so a day after the midway point of November, he'll have missed 14 games. That part's concerning to me. It's concerning that LeBron will be starting a year where he misses 10 to 15 games right out the gate. 23rd year in the NBA. We're all accustomed to him being around. Maybe this is kind of the first sign of LeBron saying, yeah, I'm about to be 41. This is what happens when you've been in the NBA for this long. And he's done such a great job of just being available that seeing that for the first time or reading these stories from Shams, it's like kind of a wake-up call. It's like, yeah, he ain't going to be around forever. He can't be around forever. So that portion of it, I do think there's two ways to look at it. And I don't think anybody's wrong. I think you could look at it both ways. I think you could say, who cares? It's October, November. Come back December 1st if you want. Doesn't matter when you come back. Just when you come back, be healthy and ready to go for, the bulk of the season. And I think the other side of it, you can also say, yeah, but this has never happened before. LeBron's never had this issue before. LeBron's never missed the start of a regular season. I think that could certainly show a concern as well. All right, let's see what our people are saying. Let's see what everybody's got to say. Sliwa. That would be me. If you keep using his age as an excuse for his shortcomings, then that means he needs to retire. Common sense. You think LeBron needs to retire? Like, let me ask you this question. Do you think LeBron James at this stage of his career is not good enough to be on an NBA team? Do you think LeBron going into his 23rd season? You're right. Maybe I'm using age as an excuse. Do you think what LeBron is still putting up in today's NBA is not good enough to be on this Lakers roster? Because if you do, I completely disagree with you. LeBron is still an unbelievable player. I don't care where you want to put him. Some people want to say he's still top 10 in the NBA. ESPN just did that. They just did the ranking the players. I think they had him at 9 or 8, wherever they had him. Okay, don't put him top 10. Don't put him top 15. Let's just say LeBron is still top 20 in the NBA. Is that safe to say? Can most people agree with me that LeBron is top 20 in the league right now, walking into his 23rd season in the NBA? Does that mean he's not good enough to be on this Lakers roster or play for another team? I see what people are saying here. I'm gonna sympathize with people that are telling me what they're saying. It's the 50 mil part that bothers people, right? Is that safe to say? Yes, Lee, but it's the 50 to 60 mil. Needs to take less money. The issue I think people have with LeBron, I mean, I think people have many issues with LeBron. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like that's not the case. But I think the frustration that people have with LeBron is, yeah, but he's making too much money. If you're top 20 in the NBA and people agree that he's top 20, you're making 40, 50 million a year. You are. So I don't think you can kind of have both of these. I don't think you could say, if you're saying, well, he's too old, but if you agree that he's a top 20 player and then you say, oh, well, then he's making too much money. But if we're saying he's a top 20 player in the league and he's still putting up 25, 6, and 6, then I'm sorry, that money is justified. And I think, what people have to understand, and I'm not even in here, I'm not even trying to defend this because I don't really care. I mean, if you told me this is LeBron's last season and they're now able to take that money and go put it into another superstar, then I think you got a much better shot of winning a championship or competing for a championship. Or if you told me after this season, LeBron says, hey, I just want to keep playing with the Lakers and go get another superstar and I'm going to sign for the minimum. I don't care. I want another shot at winning an NBA championship. I think ultimately, I think we contradict ourselves. You can't say that he's a top 20 player and he doesn't deserve $50 million a year. If you're a top 20 player in the or a top 20 player in the NBA and you're still putting up the stats that he's putting up, then you're worth that money. And I'm not even talking about what LeBron brings to the table, all the other stuff, because fans don't care about that. Fans don't care what the ticket sales are, the jersey sales or anything. I don't blame you guys. What the hell do you guys? You guys aren't making the money. Ownership is. The league is. But based off of everything that we're saying, he's still worth that paycheck. Might be tough to swallow for people. I get a lot of people are just, they're ready to turn the page on LeBron. I get that. Here's the beauty. I'll tell you, if there's one silver lining to LeBron missing 10 to 15 games to start the season, we're going to see this team led by Luka, Austin Reeves right by his side, Ayton as your starting center, some of these role players around. Let's see what this team looks like without LeBron. Let's see what it looks like. And if they're winning games and they're 7-3 without him, and then he comes back and all of a sudden he's just adding to it or maybe hurting it, then I think it's a different conversation. But I got a difficult time with well, it's not justified what you're paying him. Based on his numbers, his stats, his productivity, where he ranks in the rest of the NBA, no, the numbers aren't that off. And even if they're off, let's say they're off, he shouldn't be making 52, he should be making 42. Okay, well, what's that going to do for the Lakers salary cap? Is that all of a sudden going to allow them to go get 2 or 3 other guys or one other star? I mean, it's not going to do anything. All right, let's keep going here. All right, let me get some more. Slee, this is the issue of the 50 mil. Having stats isn't everything. LeBron advanced metric proves it's just stat padding. Worst plus minus on the team and in points allowed. I'm going to go back to what I said. Lakers lost in the playoffs. Guys, and I'm not trying to make a case here that LeBron's going to win MVP, and I'm not trying to make a case here that LeBron's the most important player on this roster. He's no longer the most important player on this roster. We know that. It's Luka. It's Luka's team. The chapter has already started. I mean, how many different indications can I give you that the Lakers have already started turning the page on LeBron, and they started a new chapter with Luka? It's okay. I mean, we're getting to that point where I think there are fans that are already there. It is already Luka's team. No one's arguing that it's not Luka's team. The media day, you know who the first person was to talk? It was Luka. It's Luka's team. Nobody's arguing that. But do you guys think the Lakers lost to the Minnesota Timberwolves because of LeBron? Are you guys watching games and saying that's all LeBron's doing? He's just stat padding, or is that literally LeBron's career? LeBron's career, all he's done is give you 28, 8, and 8. That's just his. LeBron wakes up and already is flirting with a triple-double. By the way, I'm not even sure what we're arguing anymore. I think we all just kind of went all over the place here. I'm not even sure where we're going with this. Bron isn't trash, but for that money, you could potentially get a guy who is a better fit with Luka and doesn't come with the drawbacks, time off, etc. It's coming. I guess that's my point with everybody. That's coming. You know what the Lakers didn't do this offseason? They didn't give LeBron a 1+1. And however people want to twist it, and maybe LeBron didn't want a 1+1, every indication is this is probably LeBron's last year as a Los Angeles Laker. Every indication. What did LeBron do in the summer? All he did was opt into that final year. He didn't get a new contract. The Lakers didn't negotiate with him and say, hey, we want you here for 3 more years. All he did was just say to his contract, I will opt into my final year of my contract. That's all that happened. So I don't think anybody should be mad about the organization or be mad thinking that this isn't Luka's team or be upset that LeBron got a 3-year extension. He didn't get anything. Last year, he had a 1+1. And in the middle of the year, the Lakers traded Anthony Davis and they gave Luka Doncic the keys to this franchise. In the summer, they didn't offer him another contract. He just opted into the final year of his contract. And then Rich Paul came out with a statement and was, said everything that he said. The Lakers have given you every single indication that when this year is done, it ain't the same thing. They've already given you that indication, I think, in this past summer. By the way, great conversation and great topic. And if there's a lot of people that disagree with me, no problem at all. As long as you guys, these are the comments that I like, is when you give me some context to work with. But I get it. That at the end of the day, I think we all know that it's ticking. This is it. This LeBron chapter of the Lakers is probably already done. And what I mean by that is I don't think there's going to be too much forward with it. LeBron can absolutely get you a bucket in the playoffs when you need it by taking it to the basket. All right. Now Bron has a running mate to close out games in Luka. He will do the middle of the game work to give us a fighter's chance in important games. Finally, some people with a little bit of support. I'm on my own here on this LeBron thing. I still think he's an asset. I still think he's an asset. I still think he's a really, really, really good player in this league. I think the contract, remember, the Lakers didn't make up this number out of thin air. He just opted into his contract. They didn't give him anything extra. So we'll see what happens. And this is the final thing that I'll say in regards to the LeBron chat. If you're a Laker fan and you want to see this team have success, you got to hope LeBron has a healthy, successful season. Does that make sense? If you want this team to have any success this year, it's impossible that LeBron is not having a successful season his 23rd year in order to accomplish that. So I'll keep it there. All right. Good chat. Good conversation. I kind of came out of nowhere. Wasn't prepared for that. All right. Let me just do something here real quick. I want to see if you guys agree with this or not. Let me stay on the LeBron topic here for a quick second. You guys seen what Tim Legler's doing with ESPN? He's doing a thing called Coach's Corner. And he basically breaks down plays and film and video with head coaches. He's already done it with Doc Rivers, and he recently did it with JJ Redick. Evan Sidery, who does a good job covering the NBA, put something out here. He said, Tim Legler and Lakers head coach JJ Redick do a deep dive on their defense in the latest episode of Coach's Corner. ESPN finally focusing on this content with Legler will quickly become a must-watch daily segment. LeBron put out there, He retweeted it or quote tweeted it. Love to see this. Hot take culture is so tired. And then he put Mind the Game pod, his podcast that he does with Steve Nash. I got a couple of questions on this. And I think ESPN kind of falls into an interesting category because they're so dominant as a sports network, but I also think they have a perception where, I think there's this perception sometimes it's like ESPN could do a lot better than what they're doing, or like this everything is a hot take. You're watching First Take or something along those lines. And by the way, ESPN is not the only one to do it. There's a lot of networks out there that are kind of similar. Everyone's looking for that 15, 20 seconds of fame, or they just want to get that one clip and put it out and hopefully it goes viral. So this isn't just an ESPN thing. I think this is very common in the industry. LeBron saying, love to see this hot take culture is so tired. I can't figure all I could tell you this. I try to be authentic and this is who I am. And the way I act here is the same way that you would see me if I'm off a camera and we're hanging out and we're having a beer together. That's the best I can do. And I'll take my chances with that. Not a hot take guy, nor do I really care about listening to hot takes. That's just not me or my style. But I think there's consumers that like hot takes. I think everybody says they don't like hot takes, but then I'm looking at the views of some of these hot takes and I'm like, I don't know if I agree with everybody. I can't figure out what consumers want. Maybe they like some hot takes because it was super authentic, it was in the moment, and it wasn't scripted. And maybe it might be perceived or viewed as a hot take, but it's not really a hot take. It's just somebody was really passionate about something that they were talking about. Let me use Stephen A. Smith as an example, right? And just because they said ESPN here, I do think of Stephen A. when I do think of hot takes. Again, he's not the only one. There's a lot of people that do this. But Stephen A., for me, if he's in a rant about a hot take, I'm not interested. Now, if Stephen A. Smith is kind of going into this, all right, let me give you some nuances to this argument, nuances to this point. I got layers. I got this. I got that. Then I might be more interested in Stephen A. Smith's take. Okay, I'm going to give you guys another example. One of my favorite guys listening to back in the day, and it's because I don't think it was a hot take. I don't think that was his style. Huge Max Kellerman guy. I loved listening to Max Kellerman. I felt like a lot of times when I listen to Kellerman, I'm learning something. Kellerman's given me like a take and a view that I wasn't really thinking of. I think Nick Wright at times does this as well. And look, some people are going to like these guys, are going to hate these guys. I don't care. This is my opinion, obviously. I like those nuances. I like some depth. I like a little bit different of but let me tell you this and show you why. And it might take me a couple minutes to explain to you how I'm going to get there. I don't need the 10 to 15 seconds hot take culture, but I still, I think in today's world, I think hot take does do well. And I think there's a lot of people that will take a clip and 10 to 15 minutes, you're running your shorts on YouTube, you're on Instagram, you're on TikTok, you're just like pop, 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 and you get a hot take and you run with it. So I don't know if hot culture is tired. I don't know if it's dead. It might just be at the beginning and it's thriving, but I was curious to see if people agreed with what LeBron said. I think this Legler segment's going to be nice. I think it's going to be refreshing. And it might be also too slow and boring for a lot of people. It might be like, yeah, I don't care. I don't need to see this full in-depth analysis from the head coach and Tim Legler. All right, let's go here. Let me say this. Stephen A. Smith is exhausting. I'm going to give Stephen A. credit as well. The dude still puts up numbers. The dude still, maybe, he's obviously, everybody knows who he is. Go look at what he does on his podcast. By the way, I would rather have that on his podcast because I think his podcast was a little bit more, at least for me, I think he can get more in depth on a podcast. I think TV, it's like, go, go, go. I'm one of the things that I'll give you guys just a quick example. And by the way, if you know some of the people that I love listening to, the Hoops Collective podcast with Brian Windhorst, right? Windhorst isn't a hot take guy. Windhorst is going to take his time. He's going to do, but other people have different styles. Like I don't care if somebody likes those hot takes, then more power to you. It's all good. But one of the examples I was going to give. So I've done TV a number of different times. Spectrum Sportsnet, used to do some weekend stuff with Jim Hill for CBS Sports in LA. I've done TV stuff. And when I would compare TV and radio, TV was, you got like 30 seconds tops to make your point, and then it's going to move on. And then it's a new conversation, everything else. Radio, maybe that's part of the, why I had so much love for radio. And I think this is the closest form to radio. The only difference is it's on video, right? But radio, it was like I can sit back and have a conversation with somebody, and we can go back and forth, and we could take as long as we want. I used to do the show, obviously, with Travis, right? Travis and I, when we'd sit back, we'd look at the clock, and it's like, we got 15 minutes before we go to commercial break. We weren't in a rush. It was like, all right, well, let's just shoot the you-know-what for the next 10 minutes and see where it takes us. We had kind of an idea what the topic was going to be, and then we'd go with it. I say that because in TV, it's so much different. In TV, you just got to freaking go and keep moving on. So it's completely different. So, okay, let me see here. A lot of people show love for Kellerman. Here's one here. Sedano is a great sports host. Yeah, it's interesting. Some of people's relationship with ESPN, either they love it, they hate it, they want the live sports, they don't. There's certain people they like, certain people they don't. I think that comes with the territory. When you're such a Goliath like they are, you're going to get love, you're going to get hate. Yeah, listen, I was a big Kellerman fan. And maybe for me, for Max, he's also, I had a personal relationship with him as well. So that probably has something to do with it as well. All right, let's keep moving here. I got some NBA news for everybody, and then we're going to get the hell out of here. Shout out to Flip Sonic. Thank you for the super brother. I appreciate you showing some love. Thank you very much for doing that. Preseason basketball. That's enough. I can't break down any more preseason games. Sitting there last night, I'm like, they got outscored by 40 in the second half. What was the fourth quarter score? Like 37-8? 37-8, something along those lines. Okay, a couple things around the NBA that I'm going to hit on. And then two playoff games today in MLB baseball, and then we're done. Most valuable franchises in the NBA. This is kind of a crazy one. I want to share my screen with everybody here. I like this. I like the business side. I'm a big fan of the business side of the game. I enjoy it. I'm going to share something with you guys here real quick. Look at this. Top 5 most valuable franchises in the NBA. There's a reason why this is significant to me. Okay. The Golden State Warriors are the most valued franchise in the NBA, according to Sportico. $11.33 billion. The Lakers, the second most valuable franchise in the NBA at $10 billion. This might be the first time I've seen the Lakers valued more than the New York Knicks. Probably because they're in the process of getting sold for $10 billion. And obviously, so most people understand this. Once the Lakers, that sale price of $10 billion, it raises the valuation of everybody. It's like, a home in the neighborhood that just sold for $1 million. Everybody's home just went up. Or a home in the neighborhood that sold for $800,000. The homes in the neighborhood all just depreciated. Tell me what is, so let me keep going here. So the Lakers, $10 billion, the Knicks, 9.85, the Clippers, $6.72 billion. The fourth highest value in the NBA are the Los Angeles Clippers. And those that thought Steve Ballmer was crazy when he bought the franchise for $2 billion, the Boston Celtics ranked number 5th. Let me ask everybody here. What is the one unique thing about this list that the Lakers don't have and all the other franchises do have. There's a very, very key element of why the Lakers are not the number one franchise here. There's a very, very important element of why the Clippers are number 4, the Warriors are number 1. Do you guys know what it is? And once you guys, somebody puts it in the comment, I think everybody will understand after that. There's just one reason why the Lakers are not the number 1 team. And to me, it's the most impressive thing out there when you look at these valuations. The one reason why the Lakers are not the number 1 franchise, this franchise sold for $10 billion and they don't own their arena. That's insane. The Golden State Warriors built a new arena, Chase Center, a few years ago, and it's sitting, right on the waterfront in some of the most expensive real estate you could think of. That is why the Warriors are number 1. The Knicks own their arena. Dolan owns an arena in the heart of New York City. What is it, near Penn Station or something like that? Obviously, Steve Ballmer built his own stadium and spent a couple $1 billion doing that. The Lakers are almost the number 1 value team in the NBA, and they don't even own the real estate that they're sitting on. That's wild. That is crazy. That shows you the power of the Lakers franchise. And obviously, a few people got it here. New arena, stadium, Chase Arena is beautiful. So that's the biggest reason there. I like that kind of business twist to the on some of these that I see. I kind of like sharing some of that stuff. Okay, let's move on to a couple more topics. I did mention yesterday, Russell Westbrook did sign. I got a cousin that was texting me yesterday while I was talking about Russell Westbrook and not wanting to play overseas. He's like, he signed. He's on the Sacramento Kings. I didn't see it till after the show. Russell Westbrook agreed on a deal to sign with the Sacramento Kings. It's going to make the minimum 1-year deal, 3.6 veteran minimum deal. The Kings, we're going to see them tomorrow. That's a weird team. I don't know. I don't think they're going to be that good. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. DeMontis Sabonis, DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine. I do like Dennis Schroeder in that addition, but we'll see what eventually happens to the Sacramento Kings. Maybe they'll be in the mix of it, trying to compete for a play-in game. Maybe not. This news surprised me a little bit as well. Knicks' Malcolm Brogdon retires after 9 seasons in the NBA. He averaged last year 12, 4, and 3. He's only 31 years old or 32 years old and decided to retire. So the Knicks, I think, signed him in September, and then he decided, nope, not going to make it happen. He was slated to be the reserve point guard, is something I was reading on ESPN. He said, today I officially begin my transition out of my basketball career. I have proudly given my mind, body, and spirit to the game over the last few decades. With many sacrifices it took to get here, I have received many rewards, deeply grateful. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to all who have had a place in my journey. So Malcolm Brogdon, done. I like Brogdon's game. I think he was an underappreciated player in the NBA. Okay, let's take a quick look at a couple of the MLB playoff games coming up later today. One game yesterday. Somebody want to predict Major League Baseball for me right now, other than that the Dodgers will never lose a game ever again? The Mariners and the Jays. So Seattle goes to Toronto, basically dominates them for 2 games. Toronto can't score. Take a 2-0 lead at home, 2 games away from the World Series. And then the Toronto Blue Jays score 12 unanswered runs and end up winning the game 13-4. So 2-1 in the ALCS, and Seattle's got a chance to go up 3-1, or Toronto ties it a little bit later today. So 2 games today. The first game, Brewers and the Dodgers. Dodgers' next 3 are going to be in LA. They win the first 2 in Milwaukee. I think you got like an 89% chance to win the series if you go up 2-0. That might even be going up 2-0 as in winning the first 2 on the road. Dodgers are going to throw out Tyler Glass now. Basically, they're just going to throw out an ace every single night. And that ace might go 8 or 9 innings based on what Snell and Yamamoto did. They got a chance to completely take, this just a stranglehold on the series. I would say probably the only chance that the Brewers have is that at this point, there's probably no pressure. You're almost expected now to just lose. Everybody's expecting you to lose. Maybe now they could play loose. They're not at home. That's the only thing that I could think of, because I don't think a scenario where the Dodgers are going to be in any real danger in this series, especially when you go up 2-0. So Dodgers Brewers at 3, and then Blue Jays Mariners coming up at 5:33. So those are the two games that we're going to have in baseball. What's the Thursday night game? I didn't even look. What do we got here? I didn't even bother taking a look. Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, the 4-1 Steelers versus the 2-4 Cincinnati Bengals. All right, that's all our sports today. That's what we got this afternoon. Wish MLB spread the start times out a little more. There'll be about 30-minute overlap if the Dodger game goes 3 hours. I think the bigger issue, to be honest with you, is why are they playing games so early? I mean, just play the games later. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I look at the NBA, and the NBA, when they're in the middle of, let's call it the Eastern Conference Finals, the Western Conference Finals, they're doing 4:30 tip-offs. At the earliest, 4 o'clock. I don't understand why so many early games. That part I don't understand. Slee, what's your first 30-game prediction? Man, that's a tough one. That really, really is tough. And I say that just because I think they're going to be better than the pessimism that I've been showing, I would say, today in regards to the team. But I will say that they'll go, let's say 17-13. Go 17-13. A few games over 500 is what I'll call it. I don't think they'll get off to this unbelievable great start, but I also don't think they're going to be, trash. I don't think that's going to be the case. Get a couple more comments in here. Feel good today. So I just keep going. Slee, you're trying to... No, what are you talking about? I would never do such a thing. How dare you? But they are stacked. Like, let's stop BSing each other. They got everything. And they're winning all these close games. Games that can go either way. Flip of the coin. It always goes their way. All right, let's get a couple more of these in here. Slee, with LeBron officially confirmed to miss at least 14, 15 games, I'd say 10 to 15 games. Who knows? What would you think the win-loss record would be? So, again, going off that 20, I think we said 30-game stretch. I said 17-13. So, if you want to base that off 14 games, 9 and 5 seems too good. That seems too good. 8 and 6, something like that. That's what I would say. 17-13 is a good start. I agree. I think that's a really good start. They ain't going 25-5. If they went 11-6, it's pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. Okay, just a couple quick reminders here. Back on tomorrow morning starting at 8 a.m. Tomorrow will be the final preseason game. I am going to be doing a post-game show. Obviously that's going to be the consistent theme. We'll just continue to do post-game shows. So we'll continue to do that. Something to just keep in mind. I think tomorrow's a 7:30 tip-off again, so they got the late one again. Something to keep in mind. I think tomorrow everyone plays, and I think they're going to play a lot of minutes. So if there's a game, if you have not watched the preseason game yet, you haven't missed anything. If there's a preseason game to watch, I'd watch tomorrow's game. I think tomorrow's game will be much more interesting, and I think you'll have a much better idea of what this Lakers team could potentially be by Tuesday, or at least what it's going to look like. I mean, for me, I'm very curious. I want to know what the starting lineup is going to look like tomorrow. I'm talking about tomorrow. Is Vando back in the lineup? Is he not in the lineup? How many minutes is Luka going to play? Is Ayton, Luka, Reeves, of all these guys? So I think we're going to actually have some storylines tomorrow that I'll be excited to finally keep an eye out for. Really good show today. one thing that I do recognize and notice, and I don't want it to go, I don't want to show that that I'm not appreciative of it, but the chat is so active during the show. And that's when I think you got a good channel and people are enjoying the content. But you guys are so active and it does help the show. So I do appreciate you guys doing that. I don't want you guys to ever think that it's not appreciated. So I appreciate it. And disagreeing with me, no problem at all. Feel free to do that anytime. Back on tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Got a $1.15 in today. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Thursday. Chilling the rest of the day. Enjoy this great sports day. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Thank you, everybody.